Bill Carroll from NDSU Media, and I'm here to work my way through the players I am scouting and putting on my watch list. So, for the upcoming year, I'm going to talk about a couple of the FCS players that I truly believe deserve to be drafted, and I believe if they are drafted, will contribute, at least as reserves, if not as stars. I'm going to start with Cam Miller. Cam Miller is yet another in the now long line of quarterbacks from North Dakota State University, which, of course, we watched people like Carson Wentz and Easton Stick and Trey Lance. So now, Cam Miller. Only real question is his size, and he doesn't throw the ball. They have some fairly difficult throws in their arsenal. He throws some deep comebacks, even, which are almost a dying art in college football. But he doesn't throw the ball that much in some games because they run the ball so well. But he's from Solon, Iowa, where some fairly famous athletes in Iowa history have come from. He is 6'1" and 209, and frankly, I think that he could have started at Iowa if Iowa had been smart enough to make him their quarterback. But let's look back at what he's done. He's had a really terrific career. He's 2022's Conference Offensive Player of the Week on a couple of occasions. He was Conference Newcomer of the Week back in 2021. He was on the Academic Excellence team, and then was an honor roll player multiple times. He had a great junior season, played all 13 games, and showed up both as a runner and a passer in most of those games. Led them back to their first FCS National Championship win since 2021. Has started 40 games. I love that. I love a guy that's been there and started from jump. Was a second team all-conference player last year. Was also second in the FCS in passing efficiency. Had 3,030 total yards, 32 total touchdowns. So he's a true dual threat. In his career, he's rushed for over 1,646 yards. And I would remind you, once again, this is college, where they subtract out sack yardage. So he's probably rushed for well over 2,000 yards, and then you just have to subtract out all the sacks. 36 rushing touchdowns. He's passed for 6,470 yards and 48 passing touchdowns. And as I mentioned, he has had as many as 18 rushing attempts last year in a semifinal win versus Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word's a good football team. He had 132 yards rushing on that team, against that team, and had 260 passing yards, which was his career high in the national championship game against South Dakota State. Now, that's the one concern, right? He's not a guy that's throwing for 300, 350, 400 yards. Like 260 is his career high. I still believe he has a chance to make it, especially as like I said, as a backup at the next level. But I'd like to see him shoulder a little more of the burden as a passer. As I just mentioned, even though he's a true dual threat, his highest output as a passer is the 2,688 yards last year, and that's spread over 15 total games. As a player, a spot player who appeared in 8 games as a freshman back in 2020, he threw for 383 yards, then up to 1,444 as he took the reins over mostly in 2021, and was really the man, obviously, from 2022 forward. If he can flirt with 3,000 yards in the upcoming season, if he can keep his interceptions low, he's never had more than 5 in a season, that was in 2022, and if he can, let's just say, get somewhere in the mid-20s in terms of touchdowns passing, gives you a little better feeling about him projecting forward. But I still think he could be a backup at the NFL level going forward. And then jumping over, talking about another player that I truly believe has a chance, is ShunDerrick Powell, a powerhouse little, stump on skates as a running back. Of the past 2 seasons, he's been one of the top running backs in the FCS at North Alabama. Then he transfers to Central Arkansas, continues to be terrific. Last season, rushed for 1,016 yards and 6 touchdowns in 11 games. In his career, 2,524 yards rushing and 24 touchdowns. And as I said, a powerhouse, a guy that is very difficult. I'll tell you who's somewhat similar to is we just saw him, Kamani Vidal from Troy. Very similar build, similar running style, and frankly, no fun to tackle. In late in games, even though he's not tall, he's thick, powerfully built. And late in games, you sometimes will see, frankly, I'll be honest, guys, not exactly, stepping up and going chest to chest, right? I mean, which is not something you do with a lot of running backs, but I mean, he's the kind of guy that you'll see guys, dive at his ankles, and he is an absolute handful. 5'9". I don't think he's literally 5'9". If he comes in at 5'7" and 7/8, it won't surprise me. He's probably in the mid 180s though. He was a finalist for the Walter Payton Award last year. Led the conference in rushing. 18 touchdowns, 1,508 yards, set a new North Alabama record in his days there back in 2022. And as I said, when he made the jump up from Division II to FCS, he continued to just go out there and knock the ball out of the park. 7.5 yards per rushing attempt, 92.4 rushing yards per game. As a receiver, you'd like to see him get more involved. He had 118 yards in total receiving, 116 yards total receiving yards, and only 21 receptions. I'd like to see that number basically double. He only had one receiving touchdown. If we can be somewhere in the 20 to 24 yard per game range as a receiver, I think that will also help to make him a more well-rounded back, projecting forward to the NFL level. But as a runner, even though he's not the biggest guy, he's powerful. He's probably not even 190 pounds, but he's somewhere in that mid 180 range probably. But it's packed in there very powerfully, very tightly. So once again, those are the two I'm talking about. I'll have two more for you tomorrow. Once again, Bill Carroll, NDSU Media, and I'm getting ready for the 2024-2025 season and the draft to follow. See you soon.